Hi, my name's Dave. I am a licensed professional counselor, and I want to talk to you about something I know about relationships that the majority of couples who come to see me don't know. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming to see me. It is a statistic that we know about and have known about for quite some time that makes a huge difference in relationships. When you know what the statistic is, you understand what it means for your relationship, and you sort of live accordingly as if this information is true. Okay. The statistic is 69% of all problems in relationships are unresolvable. And I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. 69% of all problems in relationships are unresolvable. So when you think about that, you might say, well, then what's the point of even trying? What's the point of even, say, coming to counseling if we're not going to learn how to resolve our problems? And there's an answer to that question. The answer to that question is that your problem in your relationship, your problem for which you are seeking help, that you may hopefully at some point come in and see me for some guidance, that problem is not that you're not solving more of your problems. That's not your problem. Your problem actually is the specific ways that you're trying to solve your problems. So let me say that again. Your problem isn't the arguments that you keep having. Your problem isn't the content of the things that you disagree about. Your problem is the way you're discussing those issues. And until that changes, unless that changes, you're going to remain stuck. And that's what couples are when they come to see me. They're stuck. They have been doing this sort of oppositional thing for a long time where they talk to each other like they're in either debate class, here's my case and here's my arguments, and I'm going to lay my arguments out and try and make it airtight. And then the other person is going to disagree and make counter arguments. As if that can ever work. When what you really want, both of you, is just to be close to each other, you know. So you get in that mode, and that's never going to go anywhere. Or, frankly, it's easy to get in a mode where it's not so much doing the attorney thing and presenting our case, but we're kind of talking more like kids on a playground or something, right? Well, I told you that you couldn't do such and such. You did not. Well, I did too. And you know that feeling, right? I mean, most couples have been there, so that you start out talking about some kind of issue and it quickly deteriorates until, within 30 seconds or so, you're not even talking about the issue anymore. You're just kind of arguing about the way the other person argues, right? That's not fair. I can't believe you said that. We said we weren't going to bring up the past anymore. Well, you brought up the past yesterday. Well, you saying that is an example of bringing up the past, which I thought we weren't going to do anymore, right? And on and on and on it goes. And I don't have to tell you, it's just exhausting, right? You just get totally sick of it. You get sick of butting heads. You get sick of sort of clashing with each other. So you're either kind of going at it all the time, and never able to make any progress, or eventually you just say, what's the use? And couples can just kind of retreat into their separate corners and then end up isolated. And it's like you're not arguing about the problem anymore, but it's not really getting worked through. I didn't say resolved. I mean worked through. So what's the difference between resolving an argument and working through it? Well, resolving it isn't possible 69% of the time. In other words, coming to an objective conclusion about who's right and who's wrong just most of the time is never possible. It can never happen because we're not arguing over what the temperature is outside, where we can just look at a thermometer or something. People most of the time are arguing about opinions, perspectives, ways of seeing or understanding things based on complex things like your own background, your own experiences. So the majority of stuff that couples argue about falls into that category and doesn't have an absolute answer. And yet we get stuck in that cycle thinking, oh, if I just say it louder, then my partner will get it. If I just say it with more, if I just insist on it, more intensely, and it doesn't work. We keep doing more of what doesn't work. So what does work? I'll tell you what we know works. Right? Not just engaging in the arguments, going around and around, but actually communicating to each other that we hear what our partner is saying and don't necessarily, we don't necessarily have to agree with what our partner is saying, but we do have to tell our partner we hear them, that they're not crazy for seeing things or thinking about things the way they do. And we have to be empathetic and supportive. And some people say to me, I get couples that will say to me, Dave, I can't talk to my partner with the kind of restraint that you suggest. It's just not possible. I just get too upset. I can't do it. And I say, really? Because you do it in almost every other relationship in your life. Do couples that are fighting intensely, do you think they talk to their boss the way they talk to each other? Even when their boss, is being a jerk or whatever. Your boss comes in, takes a bite out of you first thing in the morning at work and hurts your feelings. You feel, attacked, criticized, unappreciated. And you don't just chase your boss down the hall yelling and screaming and trying to logically, force them into your take or your opinion. You don't bum rush them when they're back in their office. How could you say this to me or do this to me? I resent that, right? You always this and you never that. We don't do it, no matter how upset we get. In almost all of our relationships, other than our relationship with our partner, the person we're supposed to have the most care for, the person we're supposed to be the most in their corner, the most behind, have the most empathy and understanding for. In every other relationship, we show those qualities. But in the one with our intimate partner, when couples come to see me, they're not doing that. They talk to each other in ways that are invalidating, sometimes humiliating, disrespectful. They argue as if they're attorneys, just going at it in court. They take shots at each other sometimes, or they have just begun to ignore each other because neither one of them can take the constant, battling back and forth anymore. So let me summarize what we've talked about in this video. 69% of all problems in relationships are unresolvable. There's never going to be some objective answer. Your partner is never going to admit, you're right and they're wrong, because it's not an issue of right and wrong. It's a clash of opinions and different takes and perspectives. And since that's what actually is behind most conflict, you have to be able to have the discussion as if that's what it is. If it's a right or wrong issue, then it shouldn't be that difficult. If it's a issue about what the temperature is, then go to your thermometer in your home and it'll say whatever the temperature is. And then the person who's wrong can admit it and then you can go on. But, that's not going to happen most of the time. So if the majority of issues that are coming up in your relationship aren't resolvable, but you're talking about them as if they are resolvable, as if the goal is to prove your spouse wrong or vindicate yourself or prove yourself right or to win, then of course it's going to be a losing game because it can't be done. So how do you win? You win by learning to have the discussion in a way that is appropriate for the unresolvable nature of that discussion so that you both feel heard, sympathized and empathized with, and understood and validated, even if your partner has a different perspective from you. That's the only way things can move forward. And that's why I tell couples your problem is not the problem you think your problem is. Your problem actually is the way that you're trying to solve your problem. And that's the first thing that I try and help couples understand.